I'm going to talk about my favorite guy in the world, R. Stevie Moore. You guys know R. Stevie Moore? He's certainly not a household name. Long story short, I'll tell my sort of entry with him. I had this book of like weird stuff you can get in the mail in high school. And one of the things was, oh, there's this guy in New Jersey who makes his own tapes, and he's got like 400 tapes, and they're all really strange. He's this eccentric, he's like a cross between Zappa and the Beatles and the Residents, and this complete oddball, plays all the instruments, homemade music. So I sent away for his catalog. It was like he had a catalog. I sent away for it, and it was like this stapled together, like 20 Xerox pages of small print of all these tapes. He had been making tapes since 1968. Wow. Way before that was now every kid has a 4-track and, he makes tapes, but like he was way, way ahead of the curve. And song titles and album titles were hilarious. And just intriguing, and they were all ranked. He would give them a rating. He would be like, "This sucks, don't buy it." This one is brilliant, pure genius. That's awesome. So like, just his whole personality, even just from the catalog, was really interesting. And at the time, I was like Mr. Zappa, Residents, Avant. Like, what appealed to me was the idea that this was going to be the freakiest shit anyone had ever heard. But I had that catalog forever before I even ordered or heard any of it. I just used to carry it around and look at it. And then finally I was like, all right, I got to order some tapes. They were, it was $8 for a 90-minute or $6 for a 60, and it was buy 2, get 1 free. So I sent away I paid for 4 and got 6, so it's like a big investment for me at the time. And then got this huge package of tapes. And they were handmade. They were Maxell's dubbed in magic marker and like Xerox covers and personal note.
Send away for him. That's so awesome.
He wrote a note. He was like, "Hey, thanks." One of the tapes I had ordered.
He's like, "Shit, somebody ordered it."
Right. One of the ones I ordered was like the most, from his description, like this is the most unlistenable, like experimental, like the freakiest tape I have, and I ordered that. And he didn't send it. He sent another. He was like, "You don't want to hear that." It's like, he's like, "Try this one first." Like knowing, I think, that he had a repeat customer on his hands, So he sent me this much more like pop-oriented tape. Anyway, there's much more to be said. His dad played bass for Elvis. His dad was like the Nashville A-team country bass player. He played Patsy Cline, Roy Orbison. All that is this guy's dad. He grew up in Nashville, kind of royalty. The thing I was getting to is that what I was shocked to realize when I got the tapes was that although he is very weird, it's beautiful. He writes some music that's heartbreaking or hilarious or just like, Lennon and McCartney, Brian Wilson level brilliant as far as I'm concerned. His skill as like an arranger is amazing for like a guy who is like, he didn't even have multi-track like where you would overdub, 4 tracks and fill it up or whatever. He had 2 reel-to-reel decks, and he would just bounce back and forth, so nothing could be mixed. It was everything was mixed, as he went, and had to be final. Anyway, he's great. He's later in life now has, some more notoriety and a bit more of a name as like sort of the godfather of home recording. And Ariel Pink, if you've heard of him, is like, he like worships R. Stevie Moore. Like he kind of took his whole thing from R. Stevie Moore, basically. I love him. I have a giant collection. I've gotten to be friends with him too. Over the years now I know him personally and, love him on that level too. He's back in Nashville now. He was born in Nashville and then moved to New Jersey in the late 70s to make it, to get closer to New York, and it just never happened. But look, if you read, he's been covered in the press, even back then, over the years. Everyone is just like, I can't believe, like, why isn't this guy famous? Like, this is the most brilliant musician you've never heard of. But then it's like, you kind of can tell why, because he just doesn't edit himself. That's what everybody says. Like, you need an editor. Like, you have 400 tapes. You have, it doesn't throw anything away. Like that's the rap on him. It's like the guy needs an editor. But of course, that's the beauty of it. You know, the tapes are. So anyway, I'll play a little bit of. This is his first sort of vinyl album.
What was the record? How did that?
This was so the original edition of this was 100 copies. This is not one of the originals. Then that was 1976. So this was the first time he took his tapes, and actually his uncle paid for it to be on a record, you know, to try and get himself out in the world. Then a couple, I think in '78, he repressed it in a slightly larger edition.
Look at that cover.
Yeah, it's homemade. I mean, this is his handwriting. There's the stickers and tapes.
I just love that he spelled Mike like the name Mike. Recorded with one mic.
Yeah,
Recorded with one mic.
this was, I think, a radio station copy. A friend of mine found the copies of his first couple albums in a sale in New Jersey somewhere and bought them for me. And they all had those. That's his handwriting. I recognize it. You know, it's little handwritten notes.
Once again, be very careful with outros and queuing up all tracks.
Yes.
Do not play this record until you have pre-listened. And the only way to describe the material is offbeat.
Yeah.
So this kind of reminds me of Daniel Johnston stuff.
Right.
That's what I was thinking when you were...
The difference between him and like the sort of outsider like Daniel Johnston types is that like Brian Wilson level of sort of sophistication and brilliance. Like he is an oddball for sure, but yeah, he's like it's not just like, oh, I can't believe this crazy guy made these crazy tapes, you know. So
Do his records go for money now?
yeah. I mean, not like a fortune, you know, but they're collectible, on some level. I was gonna play "I've Begun to Fall in Love," which is, I think, one of his just most beautiful things. But it's track 6, I guess, if you can locate and play live at Johnny Brenda's probably 10 years ago. And this was when he had this like hipster resurgence. The whole audience was like teenagers and they were singing along. He started playing this song and the room started to sing along and hold up lighters. You could tell he was shook as fuck, like, yeah.
This reminds me of Cody Chestnut, the headphone masterpiece by Cody Chestnut.
I think Cody name checks him as an influence, yeah.
Very much.
He was sampled by Dilla.
Wow.
That's cool.
As an example of how weird he gets. So this is a psychedelicized bank commercial.
Like the next one?
Yeah, the thing is just, I don't even know what the fuck it is, but like this is an example of what fills up his tapes.
Our annual 9.25% interest rate compounded with mortgage agreements in the line. And millions of dollars
But the music in the background's dope.
Right? It's like Eno and shit, yeah.
by the standards of the nearest range.
He was super into like
40 national
Eno, It's funny, his early stuff is like from his like Beatles, Beach Boys, Zappa worship. And then as the 70s go on, like he got real glammed out. Everything sounded like Roxy Music. And then in the 80s, it's all like Public Image. Like his early 80s are very like drum machine, minimal, post-punk and.
So he like kept up with what was going on kind of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, our Stevie Moore, the man.
Some crazy
I
shit.
could keep listening. That was fantastic.
Yeah, well, there's so much more where that came from. Dig in.
Is he online now? Is he?
Oh, very much so, yeah.
Wow, that was fantastic.
1978.
The first track we heard.
It's called I've Begun to Fall in Love.
Okay. I want
How
to
many records do you have of his?
Oh, man. I mean, I have like stacks and stacks of cassette tapes from back when I used to order tapes. And then when he switched to CDRs, I bought them, which I was probably one of the only people, or one of few people buying his CDRs.
I love that.
In the
I
90s,
love
so
that
I'm
you were like
stacking
one
them.
guy, like helping this guy out.
Well, not one. I mean, there's more, but yeah, I was more rabid.
Like the cassettes that you bought from him back then, you still have those cassettes.
Yeah, most of them. Some of them I really miss. I loaned out or lost. You know, I wasn't as meticulous a collector at the time. But yeah, I got a pile of cassettes and homemade CDRs, and then vinyl records. You know, probably like that.
Wow.
He's got a lot through the years.